checking out Criterion Watch. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with,
Well, Presenza, known as the Moo Cow. Moo.
and we're also with
Lenore.
Lenore is our first special guest on this show. We've generally been doing it just me and him, and we decided to bring Lenore into this whole thing because she's been kind of our co-host for Indie Film Cafe and Film Freaks as well. So check out Film Freaks TV. We're subscribed to it, so you should too. So anyway, we're going to be talking about the Alfred Hitchcock film Rebecca. It's my choice. I had seen it. I got it at the library a couple years ago, and when I was going on this Hitchcock kick,
A hitch kick.
a hitch kick. But I was checking out all the Hitchcock movies I could, and Rebecca was one I was like, I don't know, this doesn't sound like it's an interesting movie. And then from the very beginning of the movie, I always remember the beginning of the movie is there's just some rudeness, and it's funny. It makes us laugh, and it's not a scene I typically thought of Hitchcock as. And I guess he does do a lot of that. He does a lot of dry humor and wit and kind of but these characters were very nasty in the very beginning, and so I guess we'll talk a little bit about the story of Rebecca. Rebecca was a film that, kind of a background of it was Hitchcock had basically made a bunch of movies in England, and then he came out from England to America because obviously that's what you want to do. You strive for Hollywood is kind of where everybody wants to go at that time. They're going to get paid a good amount of money. And in the 1930s, 40s, 1940 is when this movie came out.
Pre-war.
Yeah, they wanted, everybody wanted to be Hollywood. And Hitchcock was the big thing. So David Selznick was one of the biggest producers at that time and had made sweeping epics like Gone with the Wind, and I think he had done what did he do? Wizard of Oz. He did stuff like that. Big movies that garnered a lot of attention. Blockbusters. Pre Jaws and all that the actual blockbusters we know today. But those were the movies that a lot of people went to go see. And so he asked Hitchcock to come out. Hitchcock came out and they made this movie. But the thing was, David Selznick was busy, I believe, with Gone with the Wind at that time, right?
Right, and there was that whole thing about the blockbusters sort of back in the 30s because people were trying to forget about, the Depression.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was, and so that he was sort of, I don't want to say pandering to everybody's taste, but a little bit, so he kind of did that, and so I think he was looking to make something a little different and making something a little classier. And so he got Hitchcock to direct this film.
And originally they were going to do Titanic, and I guess Selznick decided to go a different direction and decided because, from what I've also read, Hitchcock originally wanted to do Rebecca, but the rights to the to the script were way too high for him, and he just wasn't interested in buying it. But he ended up going with this one and everything, and it does feel like a Hitchcock movie. I mean, it's got a lot of Hitchcock themes and tropes in it, as well as it's just beautifully shot. It's so wonderful. But the story basically is this girl, they never give her a name, played by Joan Fontaine, is
beautiful. Joan Fontaine.
She's just beautiful.
Luminous.
And she plays the meek, innocent young girl who, is just she's a companion to this woman who's just wretched and horrible and nasty and just won't stop yapping, just like me, just won't stop yapping. And then, then you meet Max de Winter, played by Laurence Olivier, and they meet when he's staring at the ocean, which I guess is, in a way, is a little bit of a foreshadowing of events to come. And she says something to him be careful, or whatever. And at that moment, their eyes meet, and
he snaps at her.
Yeah, he snaps at her, but their eyes meet. He kind of knows she's different than whoever, right? And she goes back to her companion lady, and he comes and visits, and anyway, long story short on that end, they end up liking each other, going on dates, and then she has to leave to go to New York, and he says, "Why don't you come to Mandalay with me instead and be my wife?" Which, I mean, this is not the only Hitchcock movie I've ever seen where the characters just get married on a hitch. Ah, you know, right? I didn't mean to do that, but that was, yeah. But that's like literally how quickly like these characters, suspicion,
Like
they do that, and
a week or so, I think.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a week of knowing each other. It's like, hey, let's get married.
Yeah, the only thing she knows about him is that he's, short-tempered and calls her a little fool and
he's rich.
berates her.
And he's rich. Like, that's really, and it's not like she's looking for money. She's literally, she just kind of likes him. Like, she likes being, I feel like a little bit of it is that she is like a child. She acts like a child. She's always clumsy, knocking things over. She's very innocent and sweet.
Right.
And stuff. She's afraid of everybody.
It's kind of like one of those stories where, like the young sort of princess, has this fantasy where, oh, if I could only meet this rich, good-looking, wonderful man who will just marry me and love me and boo. And she kind of gets her wish. She meets this guy and rescues her from this situation, from this terrible woman who just abuses her daily as well.
I also think there's a little bit of daddy issues kind of thing, where she kind of like looks up him as like a father figure in a way, because like he's very, he scolds her all the time. He yells at her about this or that, and treats her badly, and she kind of takes it because I don't know, we don't know anything about her history, like we don't know anything about her parents, about her side.
It's an interesting thing, and I probably would have to go back and read the source material, which is Daphne du Maurier, who was a best-selling author of the period from the 20s and 30s, kind of like the Stephen King of that era, except without all the scariness. There was a little bit, he did a little bit of hauntings and stuff like that, but this was a lot more melodramatic, I think is the word I would have used. But the story is kind of like, it's less a Hitchcockian story in my opinion and more about the Hitchcockian style.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, it is more about style than the story. It's not like a wrong man,
Right.
accused of running.
Right.
His typical Hitchcock stuff like that. But it does have his like sweeping like, shots and beautiful imagery and things only Hitchcock would have probably thought of at that time, and stuff like that to bring it. It did feel a little bit like a play at times, like people talked really fast, where I'm like, people don't talk that fast, like I don't know if that was like a thing at the time, or if people really did talk like that fast, and I just...
Right, and there are, in the plot, there are definitely what you would consider stage contrivances, things that probably would not happen in real life, but only happen on the stage in order to keep the plot moving along. A lot of that is embedded in the movie, or is embedded in the plot of the story, the original story, and that gets transferred over into the film as well.
Exactly. So anyway, to continue with the story, the girl, because Rebecca is unnamed girl, becomes the wife, comes to Mandalay to live with her new husband, and right off the bat, she is greeted by like a million people, like that are just there. I mean, not a million, but like maybe I'd say like
a dozen
10
servants.
or 15
Yeah.
people that are just like in a row, just waiting for her. And I mean, as anybody would probably expect, these people have not met her at all. They don't. I'm guessing they knew she was coming. There was no no.
Right. He sent word.
He probably sent word that my new wife will be joining us. They know, but as they get there, they're waiting, and it's like the most. I mean, I would be stressed out and scared and worried. Like I totally felt that with her. Like Joan Fontaine did such a wonderful job, because it is just. I mean, that scene in itself is just overwhelming. And then she, kind of finds out a little bit more about Rebecca, his former wife, who died. She drowned, but we don't know how exactly at first. And then more gets revealed throughout the whole thing. So without like kind of spoiling like the end of the movie, which I guess we shouldn't do, just in case you are watching this and you've never seen Rebecca. If you haven't seen Rebecca, please go see it. Check it out. It's really good.
And one of the prime characters that, or secondary characters that she meets is Mrs. Danvers, who's one of the main housekeeper, who, you know, really was attached to the original Mrs. De Winter, and she plays a very important role, not only in what happens in the film, but towards the end, the ending. So.
Yeah, she was wonderful. Like the lady who played her just did it so well. You didn't know what was going on with her, you know. Like a lot of times I felt like she was gonna kill, you know, kill.
She acted pretty much like a nutbag the whole time. I mean, honestly, she was crazy.
Well, and you kind of find out that she's very close to. You find out that she's very close to Rebecca. She she loved everything Rebecca did. So everything that this poor girl is doing doesn't live up to whatever Rebecca was doing.
Oh yeah, she's constantly rubbing the former Mrs. De Winter in her face.
I guess it makes sense that there's a difference. It seems like, I guess Mr. De Winter, or Maston, or either way, he kind of, I think he married her because she was so different from his wife.
Right.
From the late Mrs. De Winter.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, and they do that. They say it in the movie because he says stuff about her hair. You know, she's like, oh no, I like the way her hair is. But when she does her hair like Rebecca did it, and she puts that gown on, she does everything that makes her look like Rebecca. He does not like it at all. So he was literally trying to find a girl who was like the exact opposite, so that he wouldn't have the memory of his poor dead ex.
And the only time Mrs. Danvers is nice to the unnamed or new Mrs. De Winter is when she's like manipulating her to dress or act or look like the former one, because she still can't let go of that.
Well, even when she's doing that kind of stuff or whatever, before that, like she's at the, one of my favorite scenes that was also very stagey and very, like we were talking about earlier, of, it didn't seem like it would work in real life, but the scene where she's telling her about the room, showing her off the rooms, this is where this is what's going on here, and then she kind of,
that was creepy.
Yeah, she kind of comes into her, and she's talking to her, girl's pretty much like this, like, leave me alone, and we both were like, I think all three of us were saying, just get out.
Hear her stuff.
And like, get out, like,
Yeah, it was definitely weird by the time she was showing her, Rebecca's old clothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's her underwear.
Yeah,
what the hell?
It's like, here's her underwear, and she's like standing there going, I don't want to see this stuff. Like,
here's her see-through nighty negligee. Look, like you can see her hand through it. You can see everything through it.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's creepy is, Rebecca and the new Mrs. De Winter, they're up to nothing alike. They made a point of emphasizing that.
There's like some kind of weird subtext going on, like that maybe the book explores, that the movie kind of hints at, like some kind of weird single white female thing going on between the housekeeper and the former Mrs. De Winter.
I swear, we got to find that out. We got to find that information out, because there is, okay, it's spoilers, fuck it, because it's going to have to happen. So, there's a scene at the end of the movie. So to fast forward all the way toward the end, you find out that, what's his name, Max has, claimed he murdered his wife or whatever, because he didn't tell her how. But he said that, like, later on it's discovered that there was a drilled hole in the boat, and that would basically make the boat sink instead of crash. So the boat didn't crash and capsize. It capsized after it sunk and whatnot. So, or something like that. So the whole idea was, like, he realized, like, he was caught for this, and he was trying to get, not think about her or whatever. And this guy who claimed to be Rebecca's cousin.
Oh, Favreau.
He comes in and says, he basically blackmails him and everything, and tells him, like, let's, basically give me money and I'll keep this hush hush. And a nice, like, way of not actually physically saying it or whatever, but saying it in a way that like pretty much said it. So Max tells him, let's go see, let's go privately do this transaction. And as he does that, he calls the police in to tell them, this guy's blackmailing me or whatever. And the police, of course, have to investigate this whole thing. And so they go to this doctor, because that's the one thing, one piece of evidence that was never brought to attention, which is kind of weird that, he would never bring this information. I guess he'd have to wait till the body is actually discovered, which they thought they discovered the body, but nope, they did not. So they did discover a new body, which actually happens to be Rebecca, I'm guessing.
Right, and then the only witness they had was crazy, cracked old Ben, who could only stand there and go, I don't want to go on the asylum. She went into the sea. I have a clam. He's just like goofy.
And I think the asylum that he's referring to was the hospital that that the other girl went. And that's what I was taking from it. So the hospital that they went to, they find out that no, there wasn't a DeWinter that came in here. There was a Danvers, however. And so when I first watched this movie before, I was like, wait, did the other lady check her in or something and then just use her name? But this woman had been coming in before she was married, actually, because she wasn't married for very long. She was only married for 4 months, before she died. And so there was this, at the end, there was the proof that maybe she did commit suicide because she had cancer, and she didn't want to live. And there was a hint to me, and I mean, maybe you guys disagree or whatever, but there was a hint to me that she knew that he was planning to murder her, in that boat. So she deliberately went to the boat to die, basically. So in a way,
I didn't read that at all. I think what was happening was that she deliberately provoked him when she was laughing at him and saying all this shit about stuff because she was pregnant, but then she found out, it turns out she wasn't pregnant, and she was actually had stomach cancer, and that she was trying to provoke him to kill her, and instead, I guess she fell over and hit her head. Remember, she hit her head, and he said, oh, she died, because he never actually does that. He just stupidly decides he's going to cover it up because he feels no one will believe him, and he puts her in the boat, and then he's the one who sinks it and all that. But
Actually, I don't think that's what happened.
you don't think that's what happened?
Because
It's
he
hard to
describes
tell.
it as him smashing planks, but basically there's holes drilled in, and he doesn't understand boats as well as his wife did. I think the wife actually is the one who drilled the holes.
yeah, I
You think so?
Yeah.
Because he described it as smashing the planks.
Well, he said with a chisel, a hammer and chisel.
Oh.
I don't know. See, there's a lot to take into this movie. There's, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. There's a lot that goes on, and a lot of it is the house, the amazing house. I mean,
Right.
talk about that. That's an amazing house, and it kind of most of the time it's focused on that up until the end when we start kind of they have the. I guess that party is kind of the big thing that happens there. They have the party, and then he gets called away because they found the boat. So they finally find the boat, and they find a body, and they're pretty sure that's Rebecca in there and everything. And so the other girl they thought was Rebecca, who we have no idea.
We have no idea. Another unnamed person.
Which I don't know why he would say that was her, and not just say she's still off at sea.
Yeah, the thing about this is, for a Hitchcock film, this is a typically beautifully shot, beautifully paced. The direction is great. There's lots of great sweeping scenes. There's lots of detail, like depth of focus. That's the one thing I've always liked and appreciated about Alfred Hitchcock is that he knows how to shoot in a depth of focus so that you can see very, very far away, but you have just as much detail for everything that's up front as you do in the back, which gives you a great picture and gives you a great feel for the depth of a scene. So I love that stuff. It's beautifully reproduced black and white film on the Blu-ray too.
Criterion did a great job.
Great job. But the plot itself comes from Daphne du Maurier, and to me, frankly, it's just a melodrama. It's a potboiler. You know, it's like we've talked about. This is not like your typical kind of more layered, more nuanced Alfred Hitchcock kind of plot.
Right.
So that's kind of where it suffers for me. To me, you know, the Hitchcock direction is a plus, the setting is a big plus, and Jasper. And,
Jasper the dog.
and
forget him.
the absolutely luminous Joan Fontaine is just gorgeous and sweet, and she's the beating heart of this film, because God forbid, if it weren't for her, I would have detested every other character in this film. It just drove me nuts.
Except the dog.
Except Jasper. Yeah. So Jasper and the girl are probably the only things that actually make this movie like worthwhile, and to that extent, because all the other characters, even Max de Winter, he's just
Right.
a horrible, mean man.
I know, but he's such a dumbass. It's like, dude, you created this whole mess. You just should have been honest from the beginning, you know?
Well, I mean, and that's where the drama, melodrama, and all that other stuff comes in.
Yeah.
Is, you know, if everybody's honest in the beginning, then there's no movie.
I know.
Yeah, that's like the thing. But like, I mean, we look at it going, dude, why didn't you just tell her what happened in the very beginning? But you know.
Or, you know, the other thing that always bothered me, because I saw this years ago, like when I was like 17 or 18, and I was just terribly bored, and I hadn't really seen it since then, so I was a lot more into it now. I'm just, you know, I have other issues with it. But just like, you know, I just want to reach into the film and just take poor Joan Fontaine's character by the shoulders and say, why don't you at least go to De Winter and say, you know, your headmistress is treating me like shit.
Right.
You know, she really is. She's the one who told me to dress up in this stupid costume that pissed you off, and she's the one who's doing all this other crap. Please fire her.
There must be something else, you know, there. Like I said, I swear to God, I think that Mrs. Danvers is related somehow to Rebecca.
It's possible.
There's never any.
They're
What
either,
explain why the cousin called her Nanny?
yeah, I mean,
Why was the cousin in love with her?
there's something else going on that we all kind of have to guess at, and you know, it's either buried in the book or it's just not a very good book. I don't know what to say.
Or maybe it is in the book, you know,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And they didn't bring it into the movie because he felt like there just wasn't a reason for it or
Well,
something.
Christ, the thing was already 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
I know.
You
Well, I
know?
mean, and they could have trimmed some stuff too. I mean,
Yeah,
honestly.
there are extra scenes that I wonder why it's there. You know, like the one part with Favreau where he's on the phone calling Mrs. Danvers. I understand it's there to let her know so that she can wig out and produce the final scene, but then he's like arguing with the cop about parking there. We don't need to see that.
Yeah.
We already know Favreau's a jerk.
Yeah, we don't need that scene, and you know, he could have just left it at the phone call and then skipped to whatever the next scene was. But unfortunately, he did not, and it just kind of lingered on, and I felt like there was a couple other scenes probably too that didn't need to happen, you know. I mean, honestly, to be honest, that her breaking that statue or whatever didn't even need to happen, because it's not, other than it comes back later that, you know, it got broken and they're gonna blame somebody for it or whatever.
But so what?
Like, yeah, like what else? It didn't matter. Like it wasn't a thing that was gonna, you know, it wasn't like Rebecca's favorite.
Right,
you know.
it didn't inform the plot. It just made her look like a dope.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we've already gotten enough of those things. She's tripped, she's fell, she broke, you know, or she knocked over things.
She's very mousy.
Yeah, I mean, we understand she's clumsy. Let's move on.
She's young.
You know, right?
Inexperienced, and they keep telling her, oh my God, they keep saying all these awful things to her, like, oh, it'd be nice, the woman of the house should be beautiful and brainy, but you bring other qualities, or, you know, you should really do something with your hair. You look like crap, is basically what they're saying.
Yeah, that was horrible. I mean, they were Mr. De Winter's siblings, weren't they?
Oh yeah, those
they were
brother and
insulting
sister.
her, and they were
Right.
insulting him.
The help was insulting her. Everybody was. It was just awful.
There was a great like thing where you meet those people, and right before you meet them, Max is saying, you know, you know, you're gonna meet my sister and brother-in-law. They're coming to visit. but you know, my sister is this mean person. If she doesn't like you, she'll tell it to your face. And I was like waiting, and she didn't.
No.
And I was like, oh, that was the nicest thing this poor
Right,
girl could have
right.
gotten. Because like this girl, like obviously, even the sister felt kind of bad for her. You know, like you're stuck in this house with all these horrible people. But like, I mean, I'm still gonna say mean things to you, but I'm gonna say it in a very I don't know,
Passive aggressive way.
passive aggressive
Right,
way. Yeah.
right.
So.
Well, my favorite Hitchcockian moment is when they have the masked ball, and you know she gets dressed up in something really nice, and then this is a typical backhanded, under sort of, you know, below the scenes Hitchcock humor. The brother and the siblings of the winner show up, and they are dressed in the most ridiculous costume. He's supposed to be some kind of strong man, and he has like a fake weight set with plastic weights on there.
She keeps forgetting.
She keeps forgetting because they're ridiculous, and she's supposed to be, I don't know, like the German woman that with the Viking helmet that bellows at the end of the opera. You know, the when the fat lady sings. It's just, they're ridiculous costumes, and you know they're supposed to be these you know sophisticated people, and everybody else has a nice costume, but they have these ridiculous costumes, and it's just a little bit of sly, under the table humor that Hitchcock pulls in there to sort of break up the pot belly, you know, the pot boil melodrama, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know?
He looks like Pebbles.
It's ridiculous. He looked like from the Flintstones.
Bam Bam.
Yeah.
Bam.
Right. It's so funny. So I think he did that on purpose. I think he definitely put that in there to sort of sneak his own little backhanded humor in there.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff that happened in that, like some stuff that, you know, one of my favorite scenes is in the beginning, you know, with the scene with the what is it with the woman that she worked for and everything, and when she finds out that when she finds out that the girl is you know is engaged, but the way she does is he says, you know, oh, I'm engaged too, and she's like, oh, congratulations, who are you engaged to? And she's like, you're looking at her, right? And she like looks over at her, and that look of her like smiling and going down, we all laughed our butt off because we knew just what was gonna happen.
And then when he leaves and she gives her a real dressing down.
Oh yeah.
It was like cringeworthy.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to watch because, like, I'm one of those people too. Like, I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm not like her. I'll stick up for myself if I really, really feel like I need to. But a lot of times I let people talk junk to me or whatever like that if they, you know, if they want. And then there's, you know, but that lady, man, I wanted Joe Fontaine to like just tell her fucking off, just tell her.
Well, and you know, it really does underline the difference socially between what was going on in the 30s and 40s, where everything was still, especially in England, where everything was very, very class conscious, and you never would speak ill to somebody of your better station. Whereas today, we don't give a shit, man. If you screw with us, we're just going to let you have it, and that's just the way it is. And you know, we can't look at it with our modern sensibilities to how they would do things in the 30s and 40s, because it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have flown.
Well, just like you were saying before, like they don't even like sleep in the same room because in Hollywood that's not what you can do. You can get away with. What was your favorite scene?
Jasper.
Yeah.
Any scene with Jasper in it?
Jasper was adorable.
Oh my goodness.
And he does okay at the end.
Yeah, he survived.
Yeah, the whole thing with the weird old beach guy was kind of a red herring too. Ben.
Yeah, you're led to believe like he has something a little bit more at stake to this whole thing. Really, he doesn't.
Right. No.
He's just some guy. And like I said, he reminded me of the guy from Friday the 13th. You're all doomed. You know, you know, that's pretty much what it was. Is, you know, him saying, "Oh, you know, I'm not supposed to be down here. Oh my goodness, don't tell anybody.
Don't send me to the asylum.
Don't send me to the asylum." He apparently did not want to go there.
I don't have any underwear on.
He probably should have been in the asylum. I don't know.
Huh?
Oh, did he say that or?
No, I'm just being goofy.
No. Probably should have been at the asylum though. I don't know.
Yeah, most likely. It was interesting because the way that it was shot reminded me of some later movies that I've really, really liked. I think the first thing I mentioned was The Haunting, the original The Haunting, was based on the Shirley Jackson novel. And then it also reminds me of The Uninvited, which would come in the early 50s, so maybe 10 years after this particular movie, just the whole thing with the cliffs and the sea, and will they jump in, will they not jump in, is there something dangerous going on? It's just that the difference is, of course, these movies, there are supernatural happenings and ghosts and all that, and that's not in this. This is not a horror movie. This is a melodrama, you know? I mean, he's haunted by the memory, but that's really all it is
Yeah.
the memory. There's no ghost or anything like that.
There's no ghost, though. When I first did watch it, yeah, I thought there might be a ghost. I was like, ooh, we're gonna get a haunting, because like
Right.
everything's so gothic and everything's so like set up like
It is
that,
a perfect thing to be set up for that, but you don't get that.
which is actually kind of cool though, because you know typically that is what you get, and then you know you don't get that in this movie, and I think that's a little bit of a curveball, which is kind of cool. It's still like a murder mystery kind of thing of like, did she commit suicide? Did he kill her? Both, you know. But he did say at the end that he didn't kill her. I know he was talking to the guy,
Right.
but I felt like he come to
Right,
that
she
conclusion
fell.
that she fell and she died, and he didn't know what to do. So he just put her in the boat, and then, you know, and then.
And went through this whole elaborate ruse rather than just saying, well, she clearly fell and hit her head, and that was it.
Yeah, but I mean, that cop would have probably, you know, I don't know. That cop really did like him, though.
Yeah.
He might have gotten away with it. I don't, well, I mean, he didn't murder her, so.
Right. So yeah, it's just like, dude, you yeah, I could have smacked him. Laurence Olivier was good in this. This is a very different film for Laurence Olivier. You generally don't see him like this. Even though he's usually a sort of leading man and a ladies' man, this kind of character is very different for him. You know, you never see him being this short or this disagreeable with ladies and just treating them so poorly and just making such bad decisions. But again, this is because the plot is informed by the book,
Right.
so they kind of have no choice. Hitchcock, I would think, if paid a lot, stayed pretty close to the book. If he'd have been free to make changes, I'm willing to bet this would have been probably a better film. But I'm almost positive David Selznick would have said, "Oh no, I like it just the way it is," because soap operas are his thing.
Yeah.
That's what Gone with the Wind is. It's a frickin' soap opera.
Like I agree, and I think that today this movie couldn't be remade at all. At least not the way that it like a shot for shot remake definitely couldn't be done because the lines are just too freaking the dialogue and all the characters, like you cannot stick with the script. You'd have to make it very different.
Oh yeah, you try to do some of that crap to a modern woman today, and good for her. She'll probably kick him right in the nerds just because stop treating me like crap.
Yeah. So I mean, as much as I would probably agree that like I would say if of all the Hitchcock movies, I wouldn't mind it being remade.
Yeah.
If they could just kind of make it a little bit different. I wouldn't want this movie to be like the same movie. I would want it to be basically the idea. I like the idea of being haunted by the by the past or whatever. That theme of like not being able to live up to somebody's greatness, or whatever. Which is so weird. Once again, he was not married to her for very long,
Right.
and everybody treats her like she was freaking like the most amazing person in the world.
And it's very interesting because during his confession, he says to her that 4 months after I was married, she came to me and told me all these horrible things that she was involved in, and he says I would never repeat them. Well, how horrible could it have been? What exactly did she do?
Maybe the book. Maybe we have to read the book to find any of this information out.
She served wine in brandy glasses.
I don't think so. I think she probably did do some horrible things.
I mean, given that he did confess to, would it be a spoiler to say?
Yeah, you can spoil all you want.
Well, they were willing to confess that she was cheating on him with her own cousin, so.
Right.
Right.
Which is a little weird. Yeah, but
I
I like
think it's worse than incest.
honestly, they didn't even treat that like that was a big thing. Like,
Yeah,
Well-
I guess that, would that have been a big thing in the?
Probably not. Probably not. You know, years ago, marrying a first cousin really wasn't that big a deal.
ugh.
And I'm not even sure these days it's even considered a big deal. I mean, it's not. I mean, a consanguineous relationship of that type is far enough along that you don't have to worry about birth defects and stuff like that. It's still considered weird, Nikki, but you can do it.
Yeah.
And certainly back then, with the upper classes, in order to keep money in the family, that sort of thing would happen. But there's that whole relationship for those people that we don't quite get. That's probably the subtext there's in the book, but there's definitely something going on with Danvers and Fargo and the former Mrs. De Winter that we just don't know. There's relationship stuff going on.
There is, because there is that one scene where the guy comes in, starts talking to Miss Danvers about everything. She pretty much tells him to leave, to come back, you know, that you're not welcome here kind of thing. Then he goes around and finds her when he's like, has an open window. You notice, that's all he ever does is he's always in open windows.
He's always imposing himself. Yeah, he's an oily, jerky character. Every single person in this film, apart from Joan Fontaine, is a jerk.
I'll disagree with you for one person. The friend, I think his name is Frank.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I liked Frank. He was like very nice, but
he's
he did.
a very steady guy.
And he talked to her very close.
And it's very, very interesting because Fargo brings up the whole thing. It's like, oh yeah, now you can snuggle up to the new Mrs. De Winter just like were going to for the former one, but I got there first. That's a very interesting thing. He kind of throws that at him, and you have to wonder: is that something that really happened? Is that buried in the subtext of the novel? Who knows?
I don't know. I guess you'll have to read the novel. But yeah, I don't know. I found this movie to be interesting and you know, and something unlike some of the movies we watch on Indie Film Cafe.
Oh yeah,
right.
no compare.
Yeah, but I can actually watch this movie like over and over again. Like I could watch it with some friends who might not have seen this or something. I don't know if I'd watch it alone, but I might listen to commentaries and stuff like that because they do have, like, Criterion has some wonderful commentaries, supplements. This is a 2-disc Blu-ray, so both are Blu-rays too, so it's not like you get a DVD.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, because we also talked about that, was the way that this is very, very steeped in the style of the way things were shot and produced in the 40s, especially with David O. Selznick, and the way that the music is so obnoxiously, you know, informing the scene of how you, the audience, are supposed to feel. There isn't a second that doesn't go by without these, you know, overly saccharine strings and just music that it's just way too much, much, especially for modern audiences. It'll drive you nuts. It drove me nuts as a kid.
Yep, it drove me a little nuts. I mean, once you know, when you noticed it and kind of brought it out, then I started noticing it. But at first, I didn't like. I mean, I guess I'm so used to that with old movies, you know, and stuff that it doesn't necessarily
it happens
bother
in The
me.
Uninvited as well, and I dislike it
Criterion.
even more there. Yes, and we'll probably get to that at some point, but it's worse there because The Uninvited is more of a ghost story, and all it does is serve to undermine the tension that's going on there, and it just drives me nuts, you know. But that's just how stuff was done in Hollywood back then.
All right. So overall, what did you enjoy it? Because I know you said the first time you watched it when you were like 17, 18, you were bored by it. So this.
I like it better now that I've seen it as an adult and on the Criterion than when I first saw it when I was younger.
Or did you see it on a? Did you see it at the theater? Or did you watch it?
No, I saw it on PBS years ago.
On PBS. Okay, maybe that's it. Like sometimes PBS makes things look a little worse, you know, just because it's on TV.
Well, it's on TV, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good. What about you? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
I did.
Okay. I mean, this is your first. this isn't obviously your first probably Hitchcock movie or whatever,
No,
but
it is. It's my first Hitchcock movie.
what?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I thought you said you saw Psycho.
I mean, like I've seen scenes from it.
Oh, okay.
That's the one with the chocolate syrup and everything.
The
Yeah.
chocolate syrup.
Are you talking about the death scene?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Psycho.
No. So all right. Well, so this is your first Hitchcock movie. Wow.
My first full
You
one.
just
Yeah.
she just popped her cherry on the
She's
show.
20 years old. She hasn't seen the stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
You will. We're going to
You
show you
will.
as many things as we can before you go.
You poor girl. Just like Joan Fontaine, poor girl. Yeah, but no, that's great. That's wonderful. I love that because I love introducing people to wonderful directors such as Hitchcock. Hitchcock's probably my favorite. We've discussed that, me and and I know it took me a while before I decided to do a Hitchcock movie, but I had to find the right Hitchcock Criterion film to do. There's just so many good ones, but I could have done the 39 Steps, or
Which is my favorite.
do Notorious. I could have done, Man Who Knew Too Much, the original, not the remake, the original. But I decided that this was definitely the best one to start with. It kind of introduces people to a different feel of the Hitchcock. Because once you actually watch a real Hitchcock movie, like a regular one, this is not his movie.
Right. There's definitely a sense that he doesn't have full control over this, and this is his first American one. So I imagine for David O. Selznick, who's a big-headed producer who ran all sorts of stuff, so I imagine he had a lot more control than Alfred Hitchcock would have preferred. But
and I know I know a lot of people say this is not a Hitchcock movie, but this was a David Selznick movie, or even Hitchcock when he talked to Truffaut in his book Hitchcock Truffaut, a wonderful book. If you're a Hitchcock fan, you have not read that book, go get it. As quickly as you can, find it online. But there's a part where he actually said, "This is not my movie. This was a novelette," and so he kind of even viewed it as this wasn't. This has the theme, the style as
very much so.
As Paul pointed out, but it doesn't have the themes or the stuff that generally you see in a Hitchcock movie.
Right.
It's not Hitchcockian in that feel, but it does. You could watch this movie and you go, I feel like this is a Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, you could still enjoy this film.
But you can kind of still tell it's a Hitchcock thing, it has that story. So it does set itself apart to kind of still feel like Hitchcock, but it's really more strict to the novel, which if you do watch Psycho, completely different than the novel. They kind of, I guess, he was new, he was letting David Selznick. I just want to know what changes he would have done if he had a chance. I think I do have a book called Hitchcock's Notebook and stuff, and it has a bunch of different notes from various movies. Almost every one of his movies has different notes. Maybe I'll see if I can find the Rebecca one, and maybe we'll do a follow-up at some point about it. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I think this is a great episode, and we're welcome back. So thank you guys for checking this out. If you guys liked Rebecca, please leave a comment. And check out sickflickproductions.com, and check out check us out on Criterion Watch on YouTube, YouTube, which hopefully you're watching this on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think Instagram. I don't know.
We're on Patreon as well.
Well,
feel free.
Indie Film Cafe is on Patreon. So if you want to support Indie Film Cafe, that does go into all these other separate videos that we do. Film Freaks TV is another one that we do as well, and we'll be hopefully that'll be back next month. So check that out. And another Criterion Watch will be back next month, and he'll be picking it. So that'll be fun.
Very interesting to see. I'd like to do something that's slightly different or somewhat different from this one. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Good. I can't wait. It'll be fun to see what we get.
And I just got a whole bunch of new Criterion. So
Ooh.
this should be interesting.
Yeah, the sale just went on.
Right.
So I think the sale may be going on in October, but I've been hearing rumblings that it may be done.
Yeah.
This may be the last. So I'm hoping that there's at least one more this year, just so they finish it up, and then if they say no more, Barnes and Noble says no more, then no more. But I have this feeling, it might last for a little bit because they do very well, I believe.
And the current one's already done for the summer, right?
For the summer, yeah, but the next one is in October. So.
Okay.
Please, I know we'll be back for Criterion Watch in September. Wow, it's gonna be September already.
Wow.
That is so nuts.
And it's funny because, we had done Mate One for the last Film Freaks, and as it turned out, and we had talked about in the middle of that show about how this would have been a perfect film to be released on Criterion, and boom diddy boom, it turns out Criterion's releasing it, so we could have done that for Criterion Watch too.
We could have done it for
Yeah.
Criterion Watch for sure, and I don't think we will, at least this season, but maybe...
We couldn't have because it's not released until October 19th.
Yeah, and okay, so just so you guys know, we've already kind of started coming up with ideas for, we're gonna finish this season up in November. The season will be done. So it'll be 8 episodes for this show, 4 for Film Freaks TV, and then I think, what did we decide on, 22 episodes for Indie Film Cafe. So all those shows will be, finished,
It's a lot of stuff, guys.
by November and December, and then January kicks off the new season, and you're going to get you're gonna get a bunch of
New stuff.
bunch of new stuff, but it is going to be a different thing. I think we can talk about that, right? Or do you wanna?
Sure.
Okay, so just to kind of give you guys a heads up, I am going out to LA in January, that's the plan, and Mr. Presenza is coming with me in the beginning to help me get there and stuff. And while we're on the road, we thought, why don't we shoot a couple videos? So we're gonna do one Criterion Watch out there, and then I think we're gonna do. I think you're gonna do Film Freaks. I don't know if you're gonna do Film Freaks out in California or by yourself. Yeah, we don't know that. And then we're also doing Indie Film Cafe and interviews out there as well. So, for the time that you have there, it's going to be crazy.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, henceforth, we're going to be doing our Film Freaks and Criterion Watch in different coasts, and Indie Film Cafe as well. So he'll be doing stuff out in LA, and I'll be here in Virginia doing stuff here, and we're going to have probably different crews to help discuss the films after we're done.
The beauty of Criterion Watch is we could have 2 people.
Right.
That's what we've been having technically before anyway. Film Freaks, we usually have at least 3 to 4 people or whatever, so we'll figure that out. I know our next one is next month, and that's I'm excited. We'll talk about that later, which one that is. But yeah, so we're doing that, and then so we're doing it both at different coasts. So you'll get the episodes, but we're kind of switching off and on. I'll do Criterion Watch 1 month, and he'll do that same month. He'll do Film Freaks, and then we'll switch, and I'll do Film Freaks, and he'll do Criterion Watch, and stuff like that. So that way we still get to put it out, the content out every month, but you're just not gonna see me and him together a lot.
Not for a while.
But we will be back at times, and when we do, we will have a new IOC. We'll have a new. We may even shoot more than a few to just have on the back burner so that we can bank them in, which will be fun.
Yep.
Come back out and do that. So the studio here is still going to be here. He's going to be doing stuff.
Right.
I'll have my own little studio probably in my apartment, wherever I'm going to be staying. I'm still going to do all the other podcasts. I've got Hollywood Boulevard podcast, which would be perfect by doing stuff in Hollywood, And then, Harvland Coffee and Frights Roundtable and Writer's Process. All still, since that's over the phone, all those are over the phone, those are still going to be done in out there in California. So everything's still on the jet-go. There was a thought of him taking over everything and me just kind of going on and doing stuff, but I can't let it go. I can't. I enjoy this stuff too much. I have way too many Criterion movies in my collection that I would love to talk about. So
Right.
I just watched 2 of them yesterday, and so I'm really excited, and I can't wait to like share everything with you guys. So
All right.
next month is his, so we'll see what craziness
Be something good. Be something
he's
good.
got for us. So thank you guys, and thank you Lenore for
Yep,
coming
thanks
out.
for sitting in this time.
Yeah.
Fun.
And,
Hey.
yeah.
We actually showed you a good movie instead of just crap for once.
Yeah, that was a nice change.
Yeah, it was a nice change. All right, well, thank you guys so much for checking this out, and see you later.
Bye.
Bye.